Hi there, my name is Heather and I run Leigh Calligraphy, and today I'm going to be showing you how to create your very own unique and personalised hand-lettered doormat. I started learning calligraphy because I got engaged and I wanted to create my own DIY wedding with my own place cards, invitations, wedding signage, and I really quickly became addicted to writing in calligraphy and basically started writing on anything I could find, including doormats. And they quickly became a really popular item for people to buy from me, to the point where I decided to start teaching workshops for people to create their own doormat. And that's exactly what we're going to be doing today. I'm going to be taking you right back to the beginning, teaching you faux calligraphy, which is a fake way of calligraphy, which means you're not using a nib and dip ink to create writing. You can use any pen at all to learn faux calligraphy. And then we're going to be using permanent markers to freehand write your quote onto your doormat. Now, please don't worry. I know that sounds all quite daunting. We're going to go right back to the beginning. And with this video, you can pause it for however long you like at any point so that you are ready and confident when it comes to writing on your doormat. You can practice over and over and over again until you are happy to write directly onto your doormat. So for this workshop, I would suggest wearing dark clothing. We're going to be using permanent markers on your doormat, and where we're brushing with our permanent marker, it can tend to spray back onto you, so just make sure that you're wearing dark clothing, that you don't mind getting a little bit dirty. Also, I would suggest putting newspaper down onto your flat surface where you're working, because that spray back really can travel. So I would wholeheartedly suggest covering your area completely with newspaper. So to complete the workshop today, you will need to supply your own doormat. And I would suggest the John Lewis 60 by 40 centimetre Koya doormats. They're £5 and really good quality, so a really fantastic choice when selecting a doormat. But you can choose any doormat size that suits your doorstep. In your pack, you will have been given a doormat quote of your choice, and that really fits to a 60 by 40 centimetre doormat, so that should work really nicely. And let's have a look at the other things that you will have been given in your resource pack. So in your packs, you should have a couple of permanent markers. These are the sort of £1 a pack ones from the range. They work really well. These are quite hard permanent markers. They've got quite a hard tip rather than a Sharpie, which will have quite a soft tip. This is really good because it lasts well on the bristles. So they're really good. You should have a pot of acrylic outdoor paint and a spreader and a glove, which we'll be definitely using later when we come to writing onto the doormat. And then you should have a few pieces of A2 sized card for practicing your quote on. I tend to have a ruler, rubber and pencil just by me, just in case I need it. It's not completely necessary, but it might come in handy to build your confidence in practicing your quote before actually using the pen. So that's completely up to you, but it might be nice to just have that next to you just in case. And then we are ready to begin. So in your pack, you will have a quote. And the first thing I'm going to do is show you how I have created that quote. Now I am going to do Hello Sunshine, which is a combination of capital letters and faux calligraphy. And I'm going to do the calligraphy first to show you how that is done. Now on your quote, you will notice nice swervy calligraphy. And these letter formations just look really pretty, quite bouncy, something like that. So in your packs, you will have your very own unique quote that you chose. and I'm going to show you how I created that quote. Now I'm going to do Hello Sunshine, which is a combination of capital letters and calligraphy, and the first thing I'm going to show you is how we write in the calligraphy style that is in your quote. So all I'm going to do is start by just drawing out the word sunshine in calligraphy, and when you do it, you're just going to be copying the letter combinations and the letter formations that I have drawn for you. And then what you'll notice is some of them are thick lines and some of them are thin lines, and I'm going to show you where we put those thick and thin lines. So as you can see, I'm trying to do it really without stopping, just so that there's a nice flow to it. And then all I'm going to do is I'm going to make some of these lines thicker. Now in calligraphy, all of your downstrokes are going to be thick lines and all of your upstrokes are your thin lines. So as you can imagine, I've gone up here, this is down. So as I said, all of your downstrokes are thicker lines. So you're going to create a whole new line next to it, like so. So you can really see a contrast between your thin line and your thick line. And then all you're going to do is colour that in. Like so. So this was an upstroke and this is a downstroke. So again, I'm going to make that line thicker. Up, this was a down. I'm going to make that thicker. Up, down. Doesn't really matter which way you do your extra line, whether it's the inside or the outside of the letter. I tend to look at my letter spacing. So if I've got a big gap in between two letters, then I'll probably do it on the outside. I've gone up here, down here. This was up and now I've got a down here. Try to make sure that all of your thick strokes are the same thickness, just so that they're uniform. Up here, down here. And as you can see, I'm not sort of going down and then sort of colouring the bottom in and gradually trying to go from thick to thin. What I want you to do is try to stop as soon as you get to the bottom and don't be tempted to colour in gradually. You want a direct from thick to thin line, like here. This was up, this is down. I'm going to stop there. Remember, I'm not going round and flicking. Up, down, up, down. Up, down. And there you have the word sunshine. So nice thick strokes where they're thick and nice thin. I'm not going to be going up at all on any of those thin lines to change them. So yeah, so that's how you make your faux calligraphy. It takes a little bit of practice, but once you get the hang of it, it's a really, really fun way of writing, and you'll find yourself doodling words in all of your notebooks. So yeah, it's a really, really fun way of writing. The next thing I'm going to do is the word hello, and this is where your pencil and your paper might come in handy. So I'm going to draw a line just to make sure that my writing is going to be straight for the word hello, and I'm going to just do that in capital letters. When you come to actually writing on your doormat, you can actually have your ruler underneath and actually write as though you're touching the ruler, so it's fine to practice with a line there. So I'm going to write my word hello. I tend to have my cross lines at the bottom, gives it a little bit of character. Don't worry if it's not completely perfect at this stage. And then I'm going to do a sunshine at the top as well. So now you can see how I have written your quote that you've chosen, and now it is time for you to have a go on your own. So all I'm going to do is make sure that that's kind of above me when I'm writing, so that I can see exactly where the line spacing should be in between the letters. So you're going to just copy exactly how I've done your one. And it may be an idea to do it in pencil first if you want to, or you can go straight for the pen. I would also practice on both sides of your card so that you've got maximum chances of practicing. Now, what I tend to recommend doing for a lot of people in my workshops is fold over your paper to make it smaller for each word. So if I'm really focusing on the word sunshine at first, I can fold over the quote and prop it up so that you've got it really close to where you're practicing your writing, so I can really see the spacing between my letters. So for example, I want my S to be here, my U to be here, and that way my quote is nice and close to me for my practice. So you're going to completely take your time with this. You can practice and practice for hours if you want to before you go onto your doormat. It does take time, but I will promise you that it's actually easier to write on your doormat than it is to write on here. So if you can get it how you want it on your card, then I promise you when it comes to writing on your doormat, you'll be absolutely fine. So remember, all you're going to do is try and copy the one above you, making sure that the letters are in the same position. Like so, and then keep practicing it over and over and over again until you feel fairly happy. You're never going to be 100% confident before moving on to your doormat, you just won't. But if it brings you any peace at all, just know that I've done this workshop lots and lots of times in person. We only have 2 hours and there's never been one person that hasn't just gone for it on the doormat by the end of the workshop. So keep practicing it over and over again. As I say, remember to try it on both sides of your card so that you've had at least kind of 4 practices before moving on to the doormat. So yeah, enjoy the practice and I will see you for the doormat. So now we are ready as we will ever be to write on the doormat, and remember, as I said, it is a lot easier to write on the doormat because of the friction on it than it is on the paper, and you will definitely not see any little jaggedy bits of writing that you may have noticed more on your paper. So now is the time to put your glove on, as when you're writing the impermanent marker on these bristles, it can tend to spray back onto your skin and your nails. So just use your glove if you can at this point. So what I would suggest you do is you pick your favourite version of the writing that you have just practiced. It could be my one, or it can be your favourite one that you have just made. So all I'm going to do is stroke the doormat so I get my initial writing on it, thinking about where I want to have my word on the mat. So it could be that you unfold it if you want to and just think, right, okay, so my S is going to be around here, or you can have it up above you to make sure that your writing position is in the same place. So I'm going to have that in the middle of the doormat. I'm I'm going to write my word sunshine, remembering that my S I want to be in exactly the same place on my doormat as on here. Now I've got a little bit of overhang just in case it's got a little bit more space, but I'm going to make sure that these flicks are bigger at the end. So I'm going to start. Remember, you're brushing fairly lightly to get to your first part. So just brushing onto the mat. Now you can do it quite slowly. Just small strokes. You can stand up for it so you can really see the layout if you want to. A lot of people find it easier to actually stand up so that they are being able to see that they're writing in a straight line. So once I've got my initial layout, I'm now going to make this line a lot thicker. Now, just go for it. It's going to hurt your hand a little bit, but you really want to get right in the bristles at this stage. So that it's going right down almost to the bottom of your mat. The thicker you can go at this stage and the deeper into your mat that you can go, the longer your doormat is going to last, because if you've only got pen on the very tip of your mat, it won't last as long as it could. So really get in there as deep as you can. It may hurt your hand, so have a break whenever you like, but you really want to at this stage now start seeing your thick line in the mat. I tend to do all of mine as kind of upstrokes. So you can already see the difference. You can actually see all the spray on your glove as well, so you can see how much it would ruin your nails if you got it on there. If you do get any permanent marker on your skin or nails, I found that washing your hands with shampoo is actually really good for getting it out. It does come off eventually, obviously, but it's best to try and avoid it if you can. Now at this stage I would probably go over it even again if you want to, just so it's really, really nice and thickly in there, or try and go over any bits that just don't quite look as strong as others. Great, I'm happy with that. So now you're going to add the thick strokes that you have got on your design. So you're going to do exactly the same thing. You're going to then lightly add your second line in, just as we did on our practice. Again, just colouring in your doormat. So now is a really important bit that we get this nice and thick. You'll have been given 2 or 3 pens depending on how many words you had in your design. So if at any point you think that it's not really coming out, then switch your pens so that it's nice and thick. Going as deep into your mat as you possibly can. Your line should look really, really black. It does hurt your hand. Just have a break whenever you need to. Some of the bristles will come out, that's absolutely no problem at all. You can also see how much spray is going on to the quote as well, so as I said, make sure you've got some newspaper down if you can. At this point I'll probably swap to another pen just so you get that line really, really thick, and just go back and just make sure that any bits that you don't think are fully thick are nice and black. Right, so that is looking good. The black is nice and clear. And it's looking nice and thick. You cannot be thick enough, as I said. You can never do too much, so just keep going until you're really happy with it. That is not going to fade. So now I'm going to add my capital letters in. If you're wondering why I do my capital letters after, it's because with the letters being so bouncy, I'm going to fit hello here, whereas if I put it here and then done my S underneath, the S may be sort of touching a bit too much, so I can fit it in just where it looks nice. So I always do any capital letters after I've done the main calligraphy element. So, like I said before, now is a really good time to use the ruler. Now, obviously you can't draw a line on there because that will permanently be there, unless you don't mind a line on being on there. So again, I find it better to stand up at this point, just so you can really make sure that your letters are straight. And then I can use my ruler to make sure it's super straight. So remember, lightly at first, With the height, again, it's really much better to stand up so that you can see that the height is the same in the letters. Or you can put another ruler there if you want to, above. And then really carefully go over your letters so that they're really nice and thick. Nice and black. Do this bit nice and slowly, because any wobbles that you have on the capital letters are a little bit easier to notice, I would say. So just really go slowly and make sure that you're only going over the line that you've created already. So that's now nice and thick as well. And then I'm just going to add my sunshine, which I'm going to do a bit smaller, I think, because my sunshine is up a little bit. Making sure that's nice and thick. There you have it. So I've got my doormat here, the design that I wanted, and now I'm going to make sure that this is okay for the outdoors. So I can take off my glove at this point, and then I'm going to be using my paint and my glue stick to paint over to make sure that it is ready for outdoors. Now I'm going to get a little bit on the edge of my glue spatula, and then all I'm going to do is dab the thick lines. So going down, pushing down into my brittle. You're not sort of swiping, going down and sort of prodding the line that you've made nice and carefully. It doesn't have to be a lot, it's just to make sure that that line is now nice and secure. And that paint just tops it up. It means that you can use it outside. Now you don't have to use the paint if you don't want to, if you are going to keep it indoors. even if you are keeping it indoors, this is just good to just secure it. And as I say, it's just outdoor acrylic paint. Making sure I've gone over every line. If you end up with bristles on it, I tend to use the glove that I've got just to clean it. And the reason I use the glue spreader, the reason they're so good is because they are so kind of stiff. And you have that thin straight line as well, which is really handy. So it's more difficult to sort of go off the design. And then for your capital letters, just be really careful to only use a little bit because you don't want it going over the lines that you've created. Just be super careful. And there you have it. So where that's going to be quite wet, what you're going to need to do is leave it to dry for a few days just to be safe. You can keep it in the garden if it's sunny, that'll be a lot better, to let the sun get to it so that it dries nicely. And then it's going to last for, I would say, 8 months to a year, depending on whether it's inside or outside. What you can do if it does start to fade is just get your permanent marker out again and just go over your letters, obviously making sure you're wearing a glove, and then you can keep refreshing it. But now that you've got this skill, and all you need are quite cheap materials, you know, £5 for a mat, couple of pounds for some permanent markers, and then a tub of acrylic paint for, again, £4 or £5. It's actually a really cheap way of being creative, and it's something that you can make for your friends as a gift, for newlyweds if it's like Mr. and Mrs, or for new homes, saying our nest or welcome to our home. The possibilities are really endless, and they're a really fantastic gift to hand make and give to people. So yeah, I hope that you've enjoyed it, and I really look forward to seeing your creations.